Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the Forgive Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Brenda Reese, and today we are going to talk about something that shows up for all of us, even those of us who are deeply committed to our own growth. It's that moment when you want change, you know change would be good for you, but your whole being is saying, nope, 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 not right now. We call this resistance. And here's the thing. Resistance isn't bad. It doesn't mean you're failing, and it doesn't mean you're broken. In fact, resistance is often a sign you're on the right track. Your system just hasn't caught up yet. This has come up quite a bit with clients lately and with some friends that I've been talking to and colleagues, noticing there's some resistance as we are what we call up-leveling or making some changes. And so what I'd like to do today is talk about 3 big reasons that we resist personal growth. And I'm going to give you a way to reframe each one so it doesn't hold you back. Okay. Are you ready to dive in? Good. So reason number 1 is growth threatens the familiar identity. Now, even if your old self isn't totally happy, because, we've all experienced that. That's why we want to change, right? Our old self isn't happy, but it's familiar. And the brain loves familiar. Because growth means shedding habits, relationships, and beliefs that have defined us for years. And that can trigger like a little quiet panic inside because it feels like you're losing a part of who you are or who you have been. Your subconscious could be whispering, if I'm not this version of me anymore, then who am I? An example would be, I had a client who had been the fixer in her family for decades. That role was exhausting, but it also gave her a sense of purpose. When she started setting boundaries, she felt this really deep unease, as we've talked about with boundaries before. Because without that role, she wasn't sure who she was anymore. So an emotional translation of this kind of resistance could sound like, if I change, I won't know who I am anymore. I have been this version of me for so long, even if I'm not happy, at least I know how to navigate it. So that's kind of being comfortable in the uncomfortable, right? It can also sound like, what if I change and I lose parts of myself I still like, or don't know how to be in this new version of me? And here's a reframe that I'd like to offer from me to you if you're feeling like this. You're not losing yourself, my friend. You're meeting more of yourself. Growth is not about erasing who you are. It's about expanding who you can be. We'll honor those parts of you that have served you and invite new parts that bring more freedom. Reason number 2 is one our nervous system knows all too well. Reason number 2 is change disrupts safety and our favorite C word, control. Okay. For those of us that have been, I'm a recovering control freak, but sometimes not so much in recovery. Okay. Because it still pops up. Personal development is an act of stepping into the unknown. Your conscious mind says, I want this change. But your survival brain says, danger, 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 unknown territory ahead. So resistance shows up as a way to keep you in the space you already understand, where you know the rules, the risks, and the outcomes. I have seen this so many times and in myself too, right? Because as I said, I'm sometimes not recovering control freak. But there was a time, actually, there were several times, right? As we've talked about the marriages I've been in, there's been jobs I've stayed in, where I stayed in these situations that weren't fulfilling because honestly, the pain I knew felt safer than the uncertainty of change. I was afraid. I stayed in things too long, friendships, romantic relationships, marriages. Yeah, because the pain I knew felt safer than the uncertainty of change. So here's how it can feel emotionally. Like this is the subconscious talk or sometimes conscious talk we may feel. Uh-oh, the unknown feels scarier than the pain I know. I know this life. I know how to survive here. Even if it's not great, I can still predict it. But what if I try to change and I fail? Or it all falls apart? At least here, I'm safe in some way. Okay. Now, the reframe from me to you is, of course, it feels safer to stay with what you know. Your brain is wired for survival, not change. But what if the unknown isn't danger? What if it's possibility? We're going to take some small steps so it doesn't feel like a free fall, but a path you're walking with support. And now for the third reason, one that often hides underneath those first two. And reason number 3 is growth forces us to face discomfort. True transformation often asks us to face emotions we have been avoiding. Now, it's not our fault. We have been taught to suppress our emotions, right? These emotions can be grief, anger, shame, hurt, betrayal. It's much easier to think about growth than to feel it in our bodies. And your resistance steps in like a bodyguard saying, let's avoid that discomfort. It's too much right now. You know, when I first started doing my own forgiveness work, a really big realization was all of the grief that I'd been carrying for decades. The sadness and the grief. And it was easier for me to keep moving, keep producing, than to sit and feel it for decades. My resistance wasn't laziness. It was protection. And through the forgiveness work, it helped me learn to sit with, be with, honor, and invite, actually, the fear, the hurt, the shame, the guilt. And that's how I was able to move through and embody and accept to get me to where I don't have those as much today. Here is the emotional translation. Again, that is our subconscious talk or maybe even conscious talk. I don't want to feel what I've been avoiding. If I really grow, I'll have to face things I've been pushing away for years. All this shame, this grief, this anger, this guilt. I've built these wonderful walls to protect myself from those feelings, and taking them down feels terrifying. And the reframe from me to you, you have been protecting yourself for a reason, and that's okay. You don't have to rip those walls down all at once. That's not what this is about. Together, we can gently open the door to those feelings so they don't control you from the shadows anymore. So those, my friend, are the 3 big reasons we resist growth. Number 1, growth threatens the familiar identity. Number 2, change disrupts safety and control. And number 3, growth forces us to face discomfort. If you're experiencing resistance right now, know this. It's not a stop sign. It's a signal that your system is adjusting. You can move forward with compassion for yourself, taking it one step at a time. Now, to help you go a little deeper, I've created a free companion worksheet that you can download and use while you listen or after this episode. And what you're going to find on this worksheet is a way that you can identify which type of resistance is showing up for you. You can explore your emotions just to get familiar with it. You're not diving into anything deep. And then you can take that reframe like we talked about and apply it so that this tiny step can help you move forward. And of course, if you'd like any support at all in moving through the resistance in your transformation work, you can book a free clarity call with me, and you can also check out my website. So all that's in the show notes. And until next time, remember, you matter. You're important, and you are loved. Take care. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, would you do me a favor and share this episode and then follow us on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss one episode of the Forgive Yourself podcast, where every Friday you will get tips, tools, and stories so that you can turn your pain into peace. Take care.